single biggest way to impact an organization is to focus on leadership development. There is almost no limit to the potential of an organization that recruits good people, raises them up as leaders, and continually develops them. As I begin with this quote from John Maxwell, I'd like to say that today, organizations across the globe are focusing on leadership development, and we bring to you one such leader, an engaging conversation with him, and how he truly believes in taking his team forward and creating leaders for the future. Hello and welcome to this very insightful and exciting episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories. Because they say that one good conversation can shift the direction of change forever. And that is exactly what we'll be doing. So with me, Isha Bhalla, let's get this conversation started. The Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories is a series brought to you by ET Edge, where we get to converse with CXOs, info entertain you, our viewers, as we sip onto our cutting chai. So I really hope that you have your cup of chai ready, because we have a lot of excitement in store for you as I present to you our guest for today. Let us welcome Mr. Sudhir Dasamantharao, Director, Global Business Services, APAC, Boston Scientific. A very, very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Isha. It's my privilege to be on this today.
And as I welcome you, I'm sure our viewers can't wait to know so much more about you as a leader, as a person, what really goes on in your mind when you're not working. And I'm sure this is going to be a very, very exciting conversation. So let me start by asking you, what is it about your growing years that has stayed with you till now? Maybe you can quote a couple of instances from your education days, from your childhood memories, or your early career.
Wow, you're really taking back to the golden days, I would say. Certainly when you're in school, they are the moments where you are full of life, because you don't have any responsibilities towards family or other things. It's all focused on education, other thing. Couple of things, if I recollect, certainly I would encourage a lot of people to do as well. Joining in National Cadet Corps, thankfully the school I studied have the facility of joining this National Cadet Corps. People say it is NCC, which will give you a lot of opportunities to go around and interact people beyond your school friends, right? So a lot of camps they organize. I got to meet people from other states, other schools. That growing up, will help you do those kind of things, meet people, know different cultures, because India, is a very diverse country. So that really helped me in terms of how do you connect with people? How do you connect with different cultures? Even in our school, which we have a lot of diverse students across. That is one thing really is a great element which really shaped my personality, I would say. Second, take active parts in sports. I really pity this generation, because they hardly go out and play. They always play on the soft boards. On apps and all. But for me, the playing is really the physical playing, right? Like a cricket or a football on the ground, which will develop a lot of qualities at that stage in your life of what is a winning spirit all about. How do you team up with people and see that you're collectively winning? So at the end of the day, it's all about, enjoy the game or not. Winning, losing is not the priority at that age. It's all about how do you really, see that you're full of life and you're giving your best in those. So I would say, these are some of the things which really shaped me as an individual at the early days of my career, of having that spirit of winning and then collaborating and working and knowing people and building relationships through these activities. And I would really encourage, and I thoroughly enjoyed, that part of initial career in terms of initial life as a student.
Well, it's so nice to look back at what life was like back then. And you very rightly mentioned that you and I here remember days in the playground, and we remember being such an active part of extracurricular activities, be it sports. Our parents really had to call us that, well, you need some home time too. But we so hope that today's generation learns from pointers that you just mentioned, because that really does build up of what you are today. So thank you for sharing that with us. And, in the last 24 months or so, we have really seen a lot change. We now call it pre-COVID days and post-COVID days. How do you feel that your leadership style has changed, or has it evolved in any way?
Yeah. So in terms of the leadership, I would not say it has changed much, but certainly learning from being empathetic to be more compassionate, and also look at people, what help they need, right? It is because people are battling between the work and family, and our Indian homes are not really equipped to have a facility where people can really work in a noiseless environment, right? Or less of distractions, kids running, and you have elderly parents. So in terms of my leadership, I always encourage people to plan your day, right? Doesn't matter, as long as you're able to deliver output, do that, right? And also the priority is to take care of themselves and taking care of their families. So I think at one point in time, in my team, almost 40% of the people have fallen sick. So those are the tough times where we said that is fine. So work will always be there, but it's important for us to focus on ourselves and families. So I would say that I was encouraging people to voice out, share. We are a family, of extended family, and always there to help. So I would say, from my leadership point of view, I was in touch with everyone, trying to understand how they're doing. And we used to do, as a Boston Scientific organization, which I work, is amazing that ways, in terms of how we are able to take care of other people.
It's so nice to see that there has been this touch of being more compassionate. Empathy has entered the ball game, and like you said, focus on your team, really creating that work-life balance and focusing on their health, their families, and all this makes a leader so much more understanding and so much more loved. So, thank you for sharing with us all of that. And you mentioned how we are all still learning how to work from home. In fact, how to work from anywhere, because this is a lot new, and I think we've all done a great job at it. And that's what brings me to my next question, that how is it that you keep your team's morale high when they're working from home? How do you know for sure that they're keeping their spirits up and good work is being delivered?
A lot of things, right? So whether you are virtual or physical, it's always about how do you connect with the people.
Yeah.
And that's important. Set up some regular calls, have some fun Fridays, just a pep talk. You don't need to always talk about the business, right, with them. So understanding what's going in their families, what is that they're doing differently. And I keep sharing what is that I was doing differently during this time, right? Just not managing work, but we all have those other responsibilities. And that's fun too. When you start sharing, you also feel better, right? If you keep everything to yourself and think that you are the one who have to solve everything, that is not necessarily, right? As long as you're able to know how you collaborate, how you leverage your ecosystem which you're operating in, and staying with the regular connects is one thing which I used to do. And I always enjoy those conversations, keeping the team's spirits high. We have, as I mentioned, these fun Fridays, and I encourage people to talk, what they're doing differently, their hobbies. And I learned a lot of different hobbies and different talent my team used to share. So these are wonderful learnings. I think only important element is stay connected, be visible, right? Whether you're virtual or physical, being visible in front of the team is very important.
So, right, you've been leading by example and making sure that you are that friendlier. It's fun to know what happens into your fun Fridays. We'd love to know more about that. But let me also ask you here, you're so very proud of the team that you're leading. So, what is that one trait that you really look for when you're, interviewing someone? What is that one trait that you feel your employee must have?
I would say it is all about can-do attitude. I look at people who are positive towards everything, right? It's important to stay positive because if you are not positive, you look for problems. When you are positive, you look for solutions. So I would look at as a trait, the willingness to make it happen. Skill can be developed. That's what I believe. But when you have the willingness and you have the right attitude when you come to office, the ability to collaborate, ability to teaming up, right? And these are the skills and ability to help people. These are some of the qualities I really weigh in high.
Fantastic. And really, bringing together a team isn't easy, and you've been doing that over the years. So I wanted to know from you, every small or big contribution made in a team really goes a long way. So how important do you feel teamwork really is, and what makes a team thrive?
I think the element of transparency, is one important aspect. So when you are transparent, and the team also will become transparent, the trust will automatically build. When the transparency and trust exists in a team, relationship and the bonding becomes very strong, and that applies in your personal life too. What I'm sharing, so that's also equally applies at work. So how people are able to transparently share a lot of information and share their experiences and knowledge, and that's what I encourage the people to be more collaborative, more understanding. In most of the teams, what happens, and usually knowingly or unknowingly, what we do is that we listen to respond rather than we should listen to understand. So that's what I encourage people, that look at what other person is saying, try to understand before you respond. And we always have a human tendency to just listen to say that, okay, what should my response be? I think if you can just set the mindset with that tone, I think the wonders can do, and you'll be able to work well. People will also like to work with you too. So it is a both ways.
Right. So really being transparent, being committed, have the willingness to learn. And this actually wants me to know what the other side is going to be. So let me ask you, what do you think is that one behavior or one trait that you feel derails one's career or takes it the other way?
So it takes other ways when people come with an attitude, right? Of can do attitude is good, but know it all, done it all, have it all, it's not going to work. You need to know what environment in the organization you're working. How do you learn to collaborate? What is the organization priorities? It is not as a leader your own priorities. It is also to understand, as a leader you have a responsibility to understand what the organization priorities are. So I see people who doesn't get that right really struggle. And then it is not about their individual accolades in the past, but every organization is different, right? So you need to be able to navigate through those circumstances.
Right. So learning should not stop any day at all, and the willingness to learn has to be there. Okay, let's get to know more about you and the man behind the leader. What is your mantra in life? What do you think has always worked for you?
This is a favorite quote which I wrote, and this is what I believe. Life is all about learning, right? So it is the way it goes, and this is what I believe is life is all about learning, continuous learning. We have to keep learning continuous. So the moment you stop learning, you're done. So one mantra in my life is, as I mentioned earlier, life is a continuous learning, keep learning continuous. So that is one thing which I believe. Second important element is, as a human beings, as individuals, we have a lot of desires for aspirations. But first, I would say you focus on making yourself deserving, right, to fulfill your desires. So the moment you are desiring, everyone wants to become a CEO, for example, or something in a top-notch position. But unless you make yourself focusing on deserving yourself, your desires will not be fulfilled. So my mantra in life is focusing on your continuous learning, right? That helps you educate others. When you know something, you're able to share. Keep honing your skills, right? Everything is changing so drastically. So unless you know you're not up to speed of what is happening and making yourself deserving, I think these are important traits, I would say.
Fantastic. And I'm definitely going to be using that quote somewhere or the other. So very nice to know life is about continuous learning. So let me ask you, if you were to look back at yourself when you were probably a teenager, do you think the 13-year-old you would think that whatever you've achieved so far is cool? Did you ever aspire to be where you are? Like you said, dream to be there and then work towards it. So do you think your 13-year-old self would think you're cool?
I don't know, because I think 13 years at that stage, you're confused. You don't know which direction you're eventually going, right? But as you mature and with a lot of guidance from parents and friends and your elders, right? Your aspiration will start, the real aspiration will start beginning, right? But certainly at that stage, I should say this, one thing my parents used always to tell is time is essence of life. So it is not about, they never pushed me that you should study and get good marks and all. That is there. Like every parent pushes, the child to be scoring well. But more than that, the essence of time at every stage in life is very important, right? That's really registered very strongly in my life. That if you don't plan your time well, if you don't, look at life in a more structured way, you'll struggle later. Yeah, but still, I mean, whatever it is from where I started, I'm happy where I am today, because that's important to stay happy always.
Absolutely, finding happiness in what you're doing. So actually that brings me to a very interesting point, but I'd love to know, if you were to change your career now or choose a different profession, what would that profession be?
Certainly, I think that profession will be. I would have loved to join the defense. I'm very passionate about those things. As I mentioned, right from my student days, that really excited me. Being an NCC, there are different work streams there in the Army and the Navy. So that could have been another good area I could have tried.
And coming from a defense background myself, I can't, feel so very excited to hear that. So thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, if I were to give you maybe say 1 month, a pen and a journal, what is it that you'd write about? Or if you were to write a book, what would it be about?
So that's in my mind from quite some time, writing a book. So I would write a book called Coaching for Life, Not for Living. Yeah, so people live, right? Any human being or any living being will live. But are you living a life which is meaningful, right? So I would like to write a book one day, talking about, what life is all about, right? And how should one should really look at, right? So certainly that would be the topic.
Wonderful. And on those lines, I feel that, we'll definitely be readers because we'd love to learn from that. And after this talk, I'm sure our viewers too will have a lot to learn in from what you're going to write. So I'm looking forward to that 1 month off and then penning down your thoughts there. But let's have some fun together. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to start a rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask a few questions. You only have to choose either or, and we're going to make it real quick. So no time to really think. Are you ready?
Okay. Yes.
Okay. Virtual meets or in-person meets?
Sorry, come again.
Virtual meets or in-person meets?
Oh, in person always.
Okay. Do you use your own Netflix account or borrow somebody else's?
My own.
Really, I've been using my family since the last 5 years.
You're lucky then.
Okay. Would you ever appear on a reality show or never go that way?
No, no way.
Okay. Learn by watching or learn by doing?
Both.
Okay, do you prefer driving or flying?
Fine.
Good choice. And would you like to travel to the past or look towards the future?
I would say look towards the future, because past you can't do change, you can't change any which ways.
Good thought. And weekend food for you is a healthy choice or fried unhealthy food?
Weekend, I would go for a fried, unhealthy food.
I'm sure that's what weekends are for, right? And what do you prefer? Do you prefer black tea or a nice hot cup of tea like me, or is it cutting chai?
I would say I'm not a tea fan, but I'll go for a cutting chai.
So cheers to that. And on that thought, I'd like to thank you for sharing so much with us. We've had some fun, light moments, getting to know you better through this very, very candid conversation. Thank you so very much for being a part of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories. I'm sure that our viewers had a lot to learn from you. It's been a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much, Isha. I really loved it. Thank you so much.